Welcome to our Town Hall special, Improving Education in Alabama. I'm Erin Wise.
And I'm Megan Scarano. Over the last few years, state lawmakers have worked to implement new state requirements to improve student proficiency in science and math. Two of the biggest changes came with the adoption of the Literacy Act and the Numeracy Act.
The Literacy Act, which is in full effect, requires third grade students to reach sufficiency in reading before being promoted to the fourth grade.
The Numeracy Act sets requirements for students' understanding of basic math concepts by the fifth grade, but students are assessed starting in kindergarten. Over the course of this special, we will take a look at how Alabama ranks nationally and how we compare to our border states. We'll hear from parents about how they are handling the pressures of the testing and get their view of public education. Then we'll review the first full year of the Literacy Act and where school systems are making some strides.
We'll also explain a new law giving parents more freedom to choose where their children go to school through tax credit reimbursements, and explain how parents will have access to the materials teachers are using before those lessons are introduced in the classroom.
To better understand why these programs have been introduced, we first need to understand where Alabama stacks up with our neighboring states.
And to do this, we're looking at the National Assessment of Educational Progress. This is federal data you can review for yourself at nationsreportcard.gov. We're including a link to the data and our supporting information on our website. The NAEP assessment is provided to 4th and 8th grade students. The federal government has been using this assessment dating back to 1969. These numbers are from the 2022 assessment, which are the most recent available. The assessment is graded on a 500-point scale. That scale measures students reaching a basic, proficient, or advanced level of understanding of the subject material for their grade.
We pulled data from 2003, 2013, and 2022 for the average score in Alabama and compared it to the national average. Here's a look at how Alabama fourth graders measured up in reading. In each year, Alabama ranked below the national average for reading. We should note, for this metric, basic understanding is a score of at least 208. Proficiency is reached at 238. And here's a look at how Alabama fourth graders measured up nationally in math. Here, the state average fell slightly below basic understanding in 2003, but then improved in 2013 and 2022, almost meeting the national average.
The scale is higher for 8th graders. Here, students need a score of at least 243 to earn a basic understanding of the material, and 281 for a proficient ranking. In reading, the state average for 8th graders exceeds basic understanding, but falls short of the national average. But neither Alabama nor the national average reaches the proficiency measurement of 281. The same is true for mathematics. Alabama matches the basic threshold of 262 in 2003, peaks at 269 in 2013, before falling back to 264 in 2022. Again, the Alabama average falls below the national average.
We wanted to see if Alabama fared better when comparing scores directly with our border states, so we focused on the 2022 assessment and found Alabama still lagged behind, but the numbers are closer.
Take a look. In 4th grade reading, Alabama is within a point of Tennessee, but falls 12 points behind Florida.
In math, Alabama fourth graders trail Mississippi students by 4 points. Florida is again the strongest border state where students scored 11 points higher.
When we look at 8th graders, Alabama averages 2 points fewer than Mississippi. Florida and Georgia students scored 9 points higher on average.
And in math, again, Alabama students trailed Mississippi by 2 points. Tennessee students scored the highest, averaging 8 points higher than students in our state.
And we want to know how parents today feel about the steps being taken right now to improve test scores. We asked, is Alabama on the right track to improving education? Here's what a few of you told us. Sheila England doesn't think so, saying, quote, they keep lowering the standard of education. There are kids graduating that can't read, do math, or know English. And Dana Manasco writes, no, they don't have a chance to be kids. So much school day is wasted and all they learn is to test. And here's how many of you voted in our online poll. 29% of you agree that Alabama is on the right track to improving education, while 71% of you disagree. We'll revisit this poll at the end of our town hall after you've received more information about the changes being made in education.
Many of the changes we are going to talk about in this special come as a result of the Literacy Act. Governor Ivey signed the Literacy Act in 2019, but the COVID-19 pandemic delayed implementation by years. It's now in full effect, and its purpose is to identify students who are struggling to read and comprehend early in their academic years. Students are assessed in the 2nd and 3rd grade. This allows school systems to provide extra resources for those who struggle to reach grade level before entering the 4th grade. And this is where ACAP testing comes in. ACAP stands for the Alabama Comprehensive Assessment Program. Students in grades 2nd through 8th grade take the test every year. The 2024 spring assessment was the first test taken by 3rd graders that could result in them being held back from the 4th grade. School systems work to prevent this by using the 2023 assessment of 2nd graders to ensure students who had extra resources available to them as they worked through their 3rd grade year. Those who still did not reach grade level are enrolled in summer programs right now to help get them caught up. And those extra resources really paid off. The state saw a surge of improvement. In 2023, 83% of students were reading at or above grade level. This year, that number climbed to 91%. Some of the big movers included Birmingham City schools and even rural school systems like Greene County.
It was a breath of fresh air. I mean, I was just so relieved, excited, emotional, all at the same time, ready to just shout it out and celebrate it with my teachers for their hard work.
That's Principal Tarja Lawson's reaction to her 3rd grade students' ACAP scores. 80% of their 62 students are reading on or above grade level. It's an improvement local reading specialist Jessica Harbison attributes to small group instruction, weekly progress and data monitoring, and dedication.
We really made it so intentional this year is to do most of our instruction in small groups and target the students' deficits, because otherwise you're holding some students back if you're trying to do everything in whole group that already have mastered something, or you're going faster than some of the students can go and they get further and further behind. So by targeting small groups, you're able to meet each kid's individual needs.
The Alabama Board of Education cut the score needed to be reading on grade level from 452 to 435 in September of 2023. 83% of 3rd graders in the state were reading on grade level last year. In 2024, that number is 91%. It's important to note both of those sets of data were calculated using the same 435 cut score, according to the Alabama State Department of Education. People want to know, is my student really reading at grade level? Are you seeing that improvement? Or is it just the cut score?
We actually still would have had a 22% increase, and 59% of our children would have been on grade level with the last year's score, which is a considerable gain, okay? But no, we're not totally satisfied because that is just a sufficiency standard. It is not a proficiency standard. So that's the minimum. We want to keep going. We want to keep pushing them.
It's a similar story of success in West Alabama. Last year, 41 of 71 students failed to read a grade level in Greene County. In 2024, the district only has 6 students who are not reading at grade level.
I think it was the consistency. We set clear goals for the teachers, our students had clear goals, and we followed through with our plan of action for this year.
But the work isn't done just yet. Resources will be put to the test this summer as teachers prepare with only 8 weeks to make sure those 6 students do not repeat the 3rd grade.
So they'll be with a certified teacher that works with them this summer. We'll have intense intervention from our reading coach that works here, and then our educators are also trained in our Spire intervention program, and just to give them that routine consistency throughout the summer learning program.
Some, including State Board of Education members, have criticized the decision to lower the score needed to be considered reading at grade level. This is how State Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey defends their decision.
I have 2 groups of statisticians separately meeting, not talking to each other, and a group of elementary teachers meeting, and they all say this is where you should go.
Although there has been improvement, there are still districts working to get their numbers up. When looking through the data, these are the lowest performing districts in our viewing area. In 2024, Midfield City Schools had 28% of third graders reading below grade level. Last year, it was 29%. Fairfield City Schools has 21% of third graders below grade level. Just the year before, it was 41%. Finally, Tarrant City Schools has 20% of their third graders below grade level. In 2023, it was 33. All three of these school districts are in Jefferson County.
Parents play a major role in their children's educational success. They are expected to reinforce what is taught after the school day ends. I'm Kira Hood. I sat down with three mothers who had a lot to say about Alabama's education system. Victoria Carlisle's son will enter third grade at I3 Academy this school year. Akira Smith has a rising fourth grader at McCullough Elementary School. Both tell me preparing their child to be successful with the ACAP has been top of mind, especially with the Literacy Act in full effect.
When I first heard about it, I was nervous because it was so big on you. If your kid doesn't learn, is not reading well, they're not going to pass. So the process was me getting with tutoring and getting with his teacher and getting the resources to prepare him for it. So after being prepared for it and studying at home, there were activities that we could do on the computer that helped with timing and the comprehension of the tests. There were activities that he did with tutoring as far as having vocabulary, him reading back to me, writing paragraphs, developing his own paragraphs.
I'm still nervous about it, of course. I am preparing myself and him by getting a tutor to make sure that he's know what he's getting himself into and have talked to him about it. We do activities at home as well, besides letting the tutor give us worksheets to work on at home. And his teacher also prepares us as well. Also dig a little deeper by going on apps to find little websites that he can download on the tablet for him to do during his time of not being at school, being that summer is here.
A lot of kids aren't on that reading level and they're out in the real world, and I want my son to understand what he's reading and comprehending what he's reading. So I think it is helpful because we're focusing on our kids now. We're taking that serious.
Most children look forward to summer because it's a break from school. But as we've shown you here in Alabama, there's a lot on the line for second and third graders. The Summer Adventures in Learning, or SEL program, hopes to help students find fun and meaningful ways to stay engaged until they return back to the classroom. I looked into the program as it launches for the first time in Anniston and expands into the city of Birmingham.
Woo! Now that was great. That was great.
Educators in Anniston are taking their approach to summer learning loss to new heights.
Because the whole part of the program is adventures, you know.
It's known as SAIL statewide, and for the first time ever, the curriculum is being taught to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders enrolled in summer camps across the city of Anniston.
They don't even know this. Yeah, they're learning to follow directions. They're learning math skills. All of that is compounded. They're doing science. They're like building like as if they were engineers. So you're getting all those components in there.
Cynthia Thompson is a pre-K teacher at Donahoe School with a career that spans 25 years in Calhoun County. She tells me bringing the fun factor to educational materials hasn't always been easy.
You want to try to keep it live and you want to be hands-on. So that STEM activity that we did today, that's one thing I would love to do within my classroom.
With the new SEL materials, she says keeping students engaged, thinking, and problem solving is less of a challenge.
Everything is so laid out for you. You get you have phonics books, you have your math books, you have you can also go on the computer and do digital things as well.
Kia Graves is the lead teacher for the SEL program hosted at Donahoe School. She says the first week presented some unique problems.
Initially, we were aiming for 50 students, but with, the Literacy Act, all of our surrounding schools are offering students, which is wonderful, they're offering students an opportunity to come to their school-based home, is what I call it, and have those opportunities to occur in the summertime. So that's been a challenge, getting 50 students, but that's okay.
It's something that she says won't stop them from bringing their best to the group that they have.
Let's be honest, students want to play in the summertime. They've been in school all year. They don't want to just sit behind the desk and learn. Well, that's the benefits of SAIL. That's what makes it different from your regular summer camp.
Students are required to attend mandatory reading and math sessions for 3 hours, Monday through Thursdays.
We are collecting data, and at the end of the summer, we want to reflect on that data and revisit that data to see that the students have grown in their learning, to make sure that the program is effective.
On Fridays, students go to Camp Lee where they are immersed in nature.
It also combines curriculum with outdoor adventures. And so both of those combined is just like a recipe for success.
The city of Birmingham has seen the benefits of the SAIL program. It launched last year and is now expanding to new locations, including the Southern Museum of Flight.
Now, we've been engaged in summer camps in the past. Our aviation adventure camps have always been popular with aviation-themed programming. We've done STEM programming, we've done drones, we've done robotics, but we had never targeted, say reading.
Brian Barsanti is the executive director at the museum. He tells me the free Adventures in Aviation SAIL camp was inspired by the implementation of the Literacy Act.
So we wanted to see, hey, what can we do? Can we do our part? We still see this as an extension of the classroom, but they're engaging, they're doing hands-on activities, and it's all being done within our genre, right? Within this exciting world of aviation and aerospace.
And he says they are already seeing the benefits.
It's been cool. I got to see all the helicopters and the outside, and I got to throw the football and see all the cars and stuff like that. And I got to hop in a plane and took a picture in it, and then we just looked more around, and it was pretty awesome.
Rising third grader Tristan Austin says he was nervous to experience a new place, but with the help of the instructors and volunteers with SAIL, he feels encouraged.
They put a piece of form of paper in front of us, and we had to write down the answers on it.
Okay, do you remember what was on it?
It was like how 3 plus 0 is stay the same, so it's 3, and more like stuff like that.
Is this different from regular school? How is it different from regular school, you think?
Because I just feel like, because I'm learning about planes and stuff, and planes are fun. It's very easy, and I feel like it's not hard, so I just want to keep doing it.
I'm joined by Susie Harris with SAIL. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Good to have you. We have a few questions about SAIL and summer learning. What are some benefits that come along with summer learning?
Well, summer learning is a time where, the summer is a time when kids are out of school and their parents need a great place for them to be so that they're supervised, they have a place to be active and do physical activity to stay in shape, and also to have food and fun with friends. But it's a great time to learn, to continue their learning from the school year, but in different ways. So they can continue learning reading and math, but not do it the same way they did during the school year in the classroom.
Gotcha. Do y'all see any benefits when you have that type of learning environment versus a regular school day?
Yes, we like for our programs to include all kinds of enrichment activities that they may not automatically get to do, maybe visit a museum, go to a nature camp like Camp Lee, which we saw earlier. And they're being exposed to new and different things they may not ever get a chance to do. They may get to go to the library and do some of the programs the libraries are putting on, like plays or different activities such as that. So they're experiencing new things and learning in a different way than normal.
And of course, learning loss has been top of mind for parents and school districts, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic. But we know learning loss happens during the summer. Have you seen any increased investment in summer learning programs to prevent further learning loss?
Right. We have actually grown over the past few years to where we have 60 programs, 60 locations around the state. 20 counties in Alabama have SAIL programs. So we have, I guess, we've added quite a few programs over the past few years. And the summer learning loss has been around, and there's research on it for 100 years. And it just kind of became something that we started seeing with COVID as well. So the benefits of a high quality summer learning program are that they, instead of losing 2 to 3 months of reading and 2 to 3 months of math, they're actually gaining. And by the end of the summer, they've moved forward instead of going backwards.
And we've seen a lot of these school districts invest in summer learning programs using COVID-19 relief funds. Of course, those funds are dwindling. Mm-hmm. Do you think there will be a reduction in summer learning programs as those funds go away?
Yes, I think we've already seen that some of those funds were used for after-school programs in schools, and we've already seen cuts coming to those for next year. So I feel, yes, I think there will be an impact on summer as well. We have been working to have more state funds allocated for community learning programs in the summer, but that'll be a continued effort of working with our legislators to try to have money set aside for summer.
Which you think is important?
Yes, it's very important because as over time, that learning loss from the summer increases. So if it's only a few months when you're in kindergarten and then you progress during school and then regress during the summer, the gap grows and grows so that by the time you're in high school, you could be 4 grades behind where you should be. So it's an incredibly important time for helping students keep on learning.
Is there anything that parents can do if they can't go to a summer learning program? Is there anything that they can do to engage with their children?
Yes, great. Our libraries, all the public libraries around the state are doing summer reading. They have activities. They can help parents pick out books that are appropriate for their child's reading level. They have all kinds of programs that are STEM related, so those can support their science and reading and math activities. They can always read at home, at night, every night. But also, Alabama Public Television has a lot of resources on their website for parents to use with their students, with their children, to help them with reading and math. And they're in all the libraries, the state of Alabama, Department of Education, there are a lot of resources available on their website as well that help parents support their children.
And you all still have spots open at some of your programs,
yes.
right?
Yes. Southern Museum of Flight, they still have some spaces open, and they would love to have all of them filled, and they're going to have so much fun. You saw that little boy has already been, and so he knows what they're doing. And each week they're going to focus on a different topic related to aviation and use flight simulators and be around real planes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's not too late to get signed up.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Megan, back to you.
Alabama added to its school choice options this year through the CHOOSE Act. The state already has charter school options in the Alabama Accountability Act. Measures were passed in the 2024 legislative session to expand those options. The newest iteration of school choice establishes an education savings account program. The CHOOSE Act was a top priority for Governor Kay Ivey.
Our next step now is to provide our parents, beginning with those most in need, education savings accounts, which will further us on our journey to become the most school choice friendly state in the nation.
The CHOOSE Act flew through the legislative process, ready for the governor's signature within a month. I spoke with the Senate and House Education Budget Chairman who carried the legislation to understand how the program will work and what it applies to.
Check the schools in your district.
Legislative sponsors of the CHOOSE Act believe education savings accounts give parents the opportunity to make the best decision for their child's education, which could be another public school outside of a resident school district, private school, or homeschool.
Today's world is all about customization, flexibility, and choices in every aspect of our lives.
To pay for educational expenses, up to $7,000 could be put in an education savings account through a refundable income tax credit for a CHOOSE Act student going to a participating school. For homeschool, it's $2,000 per student and $4,000 per family. Representative Danny Garrett sponsored the bill in the House. During the session, he explained the money is controlled by the Alabama Department of Revenue.
An account is set up on behalf of the parent. The parent can direct a payment to an approved vendor, but that all is done under a rule process that the Department of Revenue will instigate. So the parents do not receive the money.
Tuition, textbooks, private tutoring, out-of-district fees, and several other items are all expenses covered under the program. Controlling the cost was a priority for Senate sponsor Arthur Orr.
Last year, there was a bill called the Price Act. It came into my committee, and I was very concerned about the cost of it. This is much different from that. I believe the cost is much more manageable.
At least $100 million each year has to be appropriated to the CHOOSE Act fund. Lawmakers can only increase the amount if 90% of the previous year's funds were used, or has been assured the minimum allocation can be adjusted downward.
That gives somebody like me as the budget chair comfort that if we need to take it down, we can take the number down somewhat.
There's also a cap of $500 million on the CHOOSE Act fund. Any excess funds must go to the Public Education Trust Fund. Supplemental appropriations that could not be used for the ETF will be set aside in the 2024 and 2025 budget cycles to cover the first year of the program in the 2025-2026 school year.
This bill does not gut or adversely impact the education budget. The expected growth in revenue, coupled with spending limitations already in effect, will be sufficient to fund any future growth of the program.
Accountability is a point of debate for the CHOOSE Act, specifically around not requiring participating students take state standardized tests. Amendments added to the legislation require participating schools give assessments aligned with their curriculum or provide a national assessment. Scores have to be reported to parents annually, while the aggregate school data has to be reported to the Department of Revenue.
The Department of Revenue is going to be monitoring this program, doing random audits. So we thought it was a good idea that they would know, for example, on a composite basis, how participating school was doing relative to others in their peer group.
Participating schools must be accredited or going through the accreditation process with the agencies listed in the Act. The Department of Revenue will be in charge of creating an application process for students and education service providers. For the first 2 years of the program, there's an income cutoff of 300% above the federal poverty line. That's around $90,000 in income for a family of 4. The Act provides the first 500 tax credits go to students with special needs. In its third year, the program opens to all students while still prioritizing low-income families, children with special needs, participating students, siblings of participating students, and active duty military families zoned for a failing school district.
While the CHOOSE Act passed, it faced opposition from Democrats in the House and the Senate. Representative Barbara Drummond questioned how this would help children in poor communities. Drummond is the ranking minority member on the House Education Policy Committee and the Education Budget Committee.
My concern is for those students who won't have a choice, for that little boy or that little girl who lives in the Black Belt and there are no choices, and the choices may be 65 or 70 miles away. This bill has no accountability. It will be apples and oranges. The public schools will have ACAP, and the private schools, homeschools, they will have their set of testing. So how will we know that those children are being properly educated? So those are my concerns. I just don't think that this is going to move the mark for children in Alabama.
We wanted to hear from leaders in public education about how this will impact the students and their classrooms. I sat down with Haleyville City Schools Superintendent Dr. Holly Sutherland. As more people learn about the CHOOSE Act, they're beginning to form their own opinion from how it could help families of homeschool students.
I think it's a great idea. You get to be more with your family, and then you can do a lot more personal activities for your child.
To how it will use taxpayer money for private education.
I just cannot see us giving public money for a private school.
For Dr. Holly Sutherland, superintendent of Haleyville City Schools, her feelings are clear.
I believe that, any money that we take out of public education decreases our ability to further educate students to the best of our ability. And so, I would hate to know or to think that we as a state and a legislative body have increased that gap per se. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
She has concerns about the legislation, starting with pulling money from public education and putting it in the CHOOSE Act fund.
At some point, there's going to come a time where if we're taking $50 million or we're taking $100 million, whatever that number is away from public education, at some point that's going to impact us.
Sutherland doesn't anticipate students leaving the district for private schools as the area doesn't have many options, but to give homeschooling a try.
Our fear is that students will choose homeschool. Some students will choose homeschool. And then our pattern in the past has been after 3-6 months, a year, they come back to us because they haven't been successful in those settings. And then our teachers are then tasked with making sure that they are caught up or remediated and back on track.
Sutherland echoes the criticism the legislation has received from others. While titled the CHOOSE Act, does every student in Alabama really have an equitable choice?
If students don't have a choice to attend a private school, then it doesn't matter if you give them the money. If they don't have transportation, if a private school has certain requirements as far as grades or as far as their GPA or as far as, their, standards.
Sutherland says while there is a cap on the CHOOSE Act fund, she worries there will be pressure in the yearly session for the funding to be increased.
Continuing our conversation with parents about education in Alabama, I spoke with the mother who decided to homeschool her children. She's also a tutor for other children. She decided to homeschool to offer her children a safe place to learn and maintain the foundation of their education. She believes having different options for students in Alabama is important.
If your child does not learn in this environment, then it's important and it's imperative that you find the environment that they do learn in. I think we learned a lot from COVID, that my child doesn't work well at home. I mean, they were miserable. Okay, well then that's not for them then. Put them in a traditional setting. Oh, well that doesn't work either. Okay, well let's try a more magnet school or a charter school or any of those. Let's just see. That's why I think it's important to have the options.
Alabama public school students will have another pathway to get a high school diploma.
There are many jobs and actually a growing market for folks who do not have to have a college degree or a four-year college degree.
Lawmakers approved the Workforce Pathway, which is geared towards students interested in going directly to work after high school. The pathway requires 2 math and science courses versus 4 for each for a typical diploma. In exchange, the student must complete career and technical education courses. Regardless of the pathway, State Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey says all diplomas will hold the same value if a student changes their mind.
Every graduate will have a diploma from an Alabama high school, and that is accepted by any college in the state. That's actually already state law.
Each college or university maintains the ability to set their own admission requirements. The Workforce Pathway diploma will be differentiated with a seal. The Workforce Pathway will be enacted in October. A gambling package that included a state lottery with revenue dedicated to education didn't get the votes needed to get out of the legislature this year.
Those in favor of the package believe the funding would have led to more opportunities for Alabamians through education. And during the session, a lottery was estimated to bring in more than $300 million every year. The funding was slated to go to last dollar scholarships for 2-year colleges and technical schools, research funding for higher education scholarships for 4-year public and private institutions in Alabama, and bonuses for retired teachers. Lawmakers did agree to commission a study group to look at the way Alabama funds public K-12 education.
And we know the education budget is going to get tighter with federal COVID-19 funds dwindling. In Alabama, the number of students enrolled in a school district determines the dollars available for resources. Senator Arthur Orr, the Senate Education Budget Chairman, says that's not the best way to fund education.
We're one of the few remaining states that have a foundation type program, which is based on student census numbers, more or less.
Orr pointed to Tennessee's formula to fund education, which was passed 2 years ago. It attaches a base dollar amount to each student. In addition to the base funding, there are options to increase the amount depending on a student's location, learning disabilities requiring more attention, and poverty in a community.
We know that students in high poverty areas have a more difficult time in school and therefore need additional resources devoted to them. Looking at that situation, how do we address the needs of those students in particular, as opposed to just one size fits all based on headcount?
The Educational Opportunities Fund, established in 2023, would have $1 billion in it by next year. Orr said those funds would be used to level the playing field and mitigate any potential consequences from a change. The study group has started meeting. The expectation is to present a plan to the legislature next session.
Another challenge facing Alabama schools is the teacher shortage. Since 2013, the University of Alabama has seen a decline in enrollment of education students by 26%. In order to recruit, train, and retain teachers, the university launched the Teach in Bama Scholarship Program.
Higher education is not providing enough teachers for districts, so I think that's just a natural result that we will try to come up with creative ways to increase the teacher education pool.
School districts partner with the university to enroll their students in the program. Students will earn 12 credit hours before their freshman year even begins. Then, when their 4 years are completed for Tuscaloosa City Schools, they come back and teach in the district for 2 years.
So it's sort of like in football, you get that early recruiting. So we're doing an early recruiting. We have our great program at TCTA that's growing students in the education field. So we're going to funnel those students and funnel those through this program. And it's just investing early in them, and we see a big reward at the end.
And that's not all Tuscaloosa City Schools is doing to recruit talented teachers. The district created the Education and Training Program at Tuscaloosa Career and Training Academy.
We pair them with a teacher and classroom where they're getting that hands-on experience and they're getting to design beginning lessons. They're getting to work on classroom management.
It's not like, where do I start? Where do I begin? Like, no, I've begun. And so this gives me the push and the leverage to achieve my goals quicker, faster, and almost more confidently.
Before graduation, students will complete an internship where they will spend 2 hours a day, 4 days a week in the classroom.
Another priority for the state is improving teacher pay. Alabama is very competitive with neighboring states. During the 2024 session, a 2% pay raise for all education employees was approved. The raise was part of a $6 billion budget for kindergarten through 12th grade education. The raise makes Alabama's starting pay for teachers higher than our border states. But even as Alabama works to recruit and retain its strongest teachers, Dr. Mackey says school systems must also look at downsizing. Take a listen to what he said during a school board work session in early June.
We have about 3,000 more employees than we had, between 3,000 and 4,000 more employees in public schools than we had in 2019-20. But we have not a lot less. We've got about maybe, the population of children is declining. We got about 20,000 fewer kids. Well, that's not sustainable.
Mackey says he's talking to school districts about paring down staff, not by using pink slips, but selectively choosing not to replace retiring staff. He says it will take several years to right-size staffing. And regardless of the number of teachers in our state, all will have to add one more thing to their duties this fall.
A new state law requires teachers to provide information to parents on all learning materials for their students. ABC 3340's Mary Barron takes us to one school system where these measures are already in place.
I think it's smart because a lot of parents don't know what's in their children's curriculum. And a lot of the times, education starts at home first. So if you don't know how to teach your own kids, how are you going to send them off and expect somebody else to teach them,
This new law is great for if they want us to be more transparent, but we're gonna abide by the law.
Senate Bill 48 is also known as the Parents' Right to Know Act. The new law will require public K-12 schools in Alabama to post curriculum materials for each class publicly online. The Board of Education and local superintendents have 30 days after the adoption of the curriculum to make the materials viewable on each school's website.
Tuscaloosa City Schools is transparent already. We've already been loading our curriculum on the website every year for the parents to have opportunity.
Marvin Lucas is the vice chair for the Tuscaloosa City Schools Board of Education. He says he believes this new rule can be successful if both parents and teachers work together for the common goal of educating students.
I think parents could have opportunity to talk to us, but I hope the parents don't get in the point, like Dr. Mackey said, to think that that teacher know every single word in that textbook that they're using.
As for how the bill stands to impact teachers,
this adds more stress because teachers are already working now.
The bill will also establish a complaint process for parents if they choose to object to the materials being taught. In Tuscaloosa, Mary Barron, ABC 3340 News.
When it comes to a child's education, the parents we spoke to believed improvements could be made in Alabama's public school system, but also believed parents being involved in utilizing the resources available is key.
One of the things that people are overcoming is they're afraid to say, I need help, right? And so if you don't say that, then no one knows how they can help you. And I see several tutors here in the library all the time because families are realizing that it takes a village. And I think that if you want to know how to tackle these new things that are being placed in front of us, then ask.
Get involved. Please get involved.
Knowledge is power.
As you can see, there's a lot of change happening with education in our state.
We've talked about ACAP scores and summer learning programs.
We've talked about programs expanding school choice.
We also looked at teacher pay and changing the requirements.
Now that you have all of this information, we want you to think over your initial thoughts to our poll question. Earlier, we asked you, do you agree or disagree that Alabama is on the right track to improving education? If you haven't voted yet, our poll will remain open through Sunday, June 23rd.
And with all the changes we've mentioned, there's sure to be a few bumps along the way. If there's an issue going on within your school system you'd like us to look into, email us at the address right here on your screen, newstips@abc3340.com. Make sure to identify the school system, and include a good number for us to call and follow up.
And we thank you for spending your valuable time with us learning about improving education in Alabama.